Hello and welcome to another jungle video, and in this one we are going to be having a look at how you can carry with those farming and scaling junglers. Yes, they are strong, yes they have been strong, and yet people still don't understand the win conditions and how to actually put the game into your favor. Too often we are playing into the hands of the meta, the Olaf, Graves, Hecarim, Kha'Zix, Elise. You know, the junglers that have been dominating for like a year. I will go over some basics as well as 2 game examples that show you different ideas about how to maximize your experience and basically put yourself in the best position to win with a scaling jungler even if your laners don't want to cooperate. So please like and subscribe if you enjoy the content, as well as have a look at the secondary channel with full gameplay breakdowns many a week. And please also join me on Planet 9 where I will be doing a coaching class on early game jungling if you need assistance with that. And now without hesitation, let's begin. And so we are going to begin with our first game. We're going to use a Fiddlesticks against the Taliyah. We all know Taliyah, nice omnivore jungler that also plays like a carnivore. Loves to get active early, loves to control the map, and then scales beyond belief. That's okay because we have a challenger Fiddlesticks who understands the concept of the full clear, the one scuttle rule, the early gank, counter jungling, do the dragon, and of course playing around the ultimate. All the tenets of farming junglers, and what he doesn't encounter in his game we will look at in a second game with a Karthus. So at this point, depending on your elo or rank bracket, you might not get invaded level 1, but against a farming jungler in high elo, it's quite common to try and get deep vision, maybe cause a trap, get first blood. Fiddlesticks knows this and understands, hey, I want a full clear and I need to get at least 1 crab. So leaving that ward on your red buff is absolutely huge for how you go about the early game as a farming jungler. Doesn't matter who you are, if you plan on doing a 5 to 6 camp clear and you don't win 1v1, ward your opposite buff. And this is especially important because you don't even know if you're gonna be invaded or not. And while ideally you want to path opposite to them, as I showed in the early game jungling video, certain junglers like Nidalees and Graves and so on can simply 3 buff into an invade, and now they meet you on your buff, you cannot win and you die. In this case, fortunately for the Fiddlesticks, a full clear up is on the cards. Taliyah is going to start on the top side, path down, and then gank on the bottom side. This is nice, this is good for us because it allows the farming jungler to get a topside crab or an early gank if it's available. Because remember, the point of the first clear is setting up your second rotation as well. That means if the Taliyah had started red and pathed upside, now you cannot 1v1 them, you cannot risk a counter gank on the top crab, so you just go back to base and path directly to the bottom crab. That's a lot of stuff to think about, but we're junglers, we're not ADC or top laners. We need to think deeply about the game and how to best succeed. Now, while the junglers that are best in the meta can also full clear, combat, gank, and invade, because they're kind of turbo giga strong, it doesn't mean that your principles go out of the window. For example, that Taliyah started topside, she's gonna float on down to the bottom lane, you see her ganking, so what should you do? Do you immediately default into a mid lane gank? Do you gank top lane? Do you simply reset and try and counteract that particular dive? Or do you go counter jungling to steal a Gromp? I hope you said you go counter jungling to steal a Gromp because, as we always know, the second camp is gonna spawn around that 4-minute mark. So not only did you get your full clear, not only did you get 1 crab, not only did you look for that first gank, you also get that opportunistic counter jungling which stifles Taliyah's experience. This means you can simply ward the wolves as they're not up yet, capitalize on the mid lane pushing to grab that gank, push the wave, and now you think, wow, that's a great beginning. I can reset and simply go back down to my Gromp, wolves, Raptors, Krugs, Seeking with upside, then I'm 6. Yeah, it's not gonna happen because the Taliyah knows you stole a Gromp. She's not stupid. She also knows if you reset right now and head to the top side, she'll kill you 1v1. She also knows if you reset and go blue side sequencing up, all of a sudden she's gonna have taken your red side camps and there's nothing for you to do. As such, you can implement that extended sequence, staying out longer than you anticipate, but because you didn't really want to set up a bottom to top sequencing, and you wanted to set up a top down sequencing, from Krugs to Gromp instead of vice versa, we do the wolves, Gromp, wait for the Victor and enemy bottom lane to show up again, and simply gank them. They have no sums, but they do have souls, and you can open the very essence of your neck, sprout out the tapeworms that seemingly infest your body, and sucky suck them to death. It's a little close, but Fiddlesticks is Fiddlesticks and you get it done. In the meantime, the Taliyah stole on your red side and then the R5 Renekton Taliyah combo comes in. Yes, Vayne dies, but she makes the Ascended Crocodile look more like a Lacoste Crocodile. Now our challenger jungler has a little bit of an error in his calculations here. The Taliyah just dove mid lane, she collapsed from the top side, you have no red side camps, and after the gank you saw her path up to the Scuttle Crab. This means I see a direct opportunity to head directly to the dragon. Your bottom side camps are not up, but your blue is. Your top side camps are not up except for a baby raptor. There's nothing really on the map for you to do except you have your ultimate. Now unfortunately your Victor dies. This happens after he's already started pathing, so that's results-based thinking. The principle is to leave the base with the intention of doing the dragon. All that ensues is a messy fight, Seraphine roams and dies, Evelynn gets caught up because the Cassiopeia rotates first. You are not in a position currently to win these kinds of fights. You're an ultimate late game team comp. And as you know, Renekton is so early game, he operated with the dinosaurs. And yes, you have to take into consideration the enemy laner's resources, HP, you have to pay attention to rotations, obviously all of these things are normal. I just don't like the idea of forcing fights on the top side just yet. And because of that, there's nothing left on the top side for you at all. You have to sequence down to your blue side. The blue team knows this, creates lane prio, and yes, our Fiddlesticks hero is able to defeather the Xayah. He ends up falling to a pile of boulders. And these are the things, even in high elo, mid elo, low elo, Keck W elo that is diamond, that you have to consider. But nevertheless, you are late game team comp, you still have a chance. Due to the Fiddlesticks' own actions as well as the laners, the blue team now has control of the fire dragon pit as well as the blue side jungle. The Fiddlesticks' ult is up, that means straight to top lane, and don't hesitate. You've got a Yone, you've got your ult, you've got flash. Fully commit to this engage. It's a Cassio, you can definitely chain CC and burst her down. Now at this point, you should be 99% sure the blue team is on the dragon. This gives you full license to go ahead and take that Rift Herald. That's where that vision control comes in, because if they do collapse on you, you want to be able to escape. But also, if they're going to take an objective, it's very important you don't allow them to ping pong that. You don't want them to go from dragon to herald, because it makes your scaling that much more difficult. Nonetheless, the safer play is to simply fall back to your farming, but as soon as you see them take the dragon, you know it pops up on the map. As soon as you see them counter jungling and diving bottom lane again, you know you have a pseudo-vertical jungling situation. That means you can dive the Cassio again, and as a farming jungler, we like this. This is very nice. It takes the pressure of, fighting way too much. It allows you to farm, get a few free kills, and then when the Renekton and the Taliyah get over-aggressive, you can chase him down and pick up a kill. Although at that point, all he's doing is trying to buy time and stop you from farming and taking objectives, and therefore his mission succeeded. And now the thing is, because of all these delays in the last few minutes, the farming cadence has really dropped off. You're not sequencing very well, you've lost control of camps, you haven't gotten an objective, and the Taliyah now has a huge CS lead as well as kill lead. That means because the ultimate is up, the Fiddlesticks can try and make a play on the mid lane. If the Taliyah rotates, you flash out, that's unfortunate. But remember, we're trying to bend but not break. You want to be able to absorb their pressure, lose a few towers, maybe lose an objective or two, but as soon as they overcommit a push, you punish them, like in this situation. The unfortunate pathing and rotations means that Taliyah also gets the Herald. However, this telegraphs their next move. They want to get those placed before 14 minutes. They want to elevate the game state before the ultimates on the red team become too overpowered. Except the Fiddlesticks has done just enough to get his mythic item, to get on the way to that Zhonya's, and now primes himself for an over-the-wall AoE ultimate, which almost guarantees at least one kill every single time. Rakan dies, and the Herald push is stopped. We're officially at 15 minutes, and the game will transition into that mid-game phase, and this is where you have to assess where you are. Despite being down a dragon and a Herald and a lot of CS, being 6-1-2, I'll take it. Now at this point, you want to hold towers as best you can, but you don't want to take fights in the open while they have a lead, and you don't want to fight without your ultimate. But when they overcommit and get greedy, a little anxious to open up the map more, use your ultimate over the wall, and yeah, I think you see exactly where this is going. As long as you hold your ground and make them impatient, have them tilting into you, you can always counteract with good wards and good ults to win almost any fight because you outscale. Even if your ADC goes ahead and dies like that, because, they still do that apparently. It's just unfathomable that anyone would collapse in a split pushing vein. I mean, come on. And I wish it was more interesting, but it really isn't. If you can seriously just be very patient, let them tilt into you, you're gonna get fights like this in the mid game, you're gonna get fights like this in the late game. It simply gives you full kills. Your AoE ultimate is so destructive. Whatever scaling jungler you're playing, you will have a strong kit, a lot of gold, and the power to win all of these fights as well as deal with any split pushes and remove them from the game. You might think, well, that was easy, and I'm like, well, it is. As long as you handle the early game properly, and even in this game, the Fiddlesticks had dragon control, didn't take it, but because the blue team just cannot break open the map enough, you are simply stalling, gaining passive gold, and cleaning up any fights that break out your way. This will allow you to get those dragons to close out. Maybe you can stack 4 of a kind, you go all in, and you take the full pot away. And you might think that was a little bit unsatisfying, but really, it's not exactly some kind of glory thing with the gates of Valhalla that open and say, now you win. But what if you're playing a Karthus? What if the enemy jungler paths from the same side as you, both going up? That means you simply full clear blue side to red side. You're against an Udyr, and bless his soul should not be running phase rush as you can see, just don't do it. Any other champion can proc it before you even get to them, and once you do actually get to them, you have your blue smite and now you're sticky anyway. There's also really no need to rush Barmy Cinder, tier 2 boots, and you know who's gonna get away from you. Also, don't forget, tenacity is kinda big on a champion like this, you know, tenacity, really useful, so by not going phase rush, you can actually go into the resolve tree and all of a sudden unflinching exists. Anyway, that's neither here nor there, but if you're Karthus and you're gonna go topside crab against an Udyr, I commend your bravery, but don't do it. Simply give up the top crab, reset, and now you can go directly down to the bottom crab. Except we live in the double scuttle meta, and the fact that enemy champions that are better 1v1ing also clear just as fast, and thus you will be double scuttled, which means you cannot afford to even go and get it. So the point of sequencing is of course maximal experience gain, except the time between the full camps respawning gets bigger and bigger the faster and faster you farm. That means you have a lot of downtime for the camps to actually respawn, and so when you know where the enemy jungler is, you can actually use those lane ganks because you cannot afford to go into the rivers. It's what I really coined last year as umbrella jungling, because you stick to the side lanes and the lane ganks, and you just cannot afford to go into the rivers and the scuttle areas because you don't win 1v1, and maybe even you don't have mid lane prio. This means you're focusing on your sequencing on the outside of the map, safe pathing, and then using the bushes and the side lanes to maybe flash in and try and make plays happen like this Karthus is doing. But when everyone eventually overstays and gets overzealous, you can punish them. Now, was this the most beautiful gank you've ever seen? Not really, but what if I told you this Karthus player was actually an ADC main, and you know, the Udyr was a jungle main, but the ADC main was doing a better job at reading the map than the Udyr. This is like an actual unicorn, and if you get the reference, well done. Because I really don't mean the horse with a horn. And now once your good work is done, you full sequence up as you're witnessing the Udyr ganks bottom lane again to make use of the sums. But this time, we're not Fiddlesticks, we are Karthus. We press the magical button and we get another kill. The Shen for the jungle, except for damage, make sure you are paying attention to the map, using your F keys, etc. And as I said, having those repeat ganks and going to the same line over and over again before you begin your next sequence is the biggest strength of farming junglers, because it's a free gank every single time because the sums are down and you can always default into a dragon or simply farming away if it's not really there. And if the enemy jungler isn't in that region, say you just gank the bottom lane and he shows top lane, that's a dragon. If he does rotate down to the bottom lane and you kill him as you just saw, that's a dragon. And these are the opportunistic first dragons you need to be able to secure as a farming jungler, because not only will you have a 2-level lead over any sort of jungler like this, but if you can actually get that dragon first and then sequence again for a third time, gank the top lane, punish the enemy support and the jungler for overcommitting, and then when they finally get so irritated with you that the mid lane roams, simply bait them out for a Talon kill as well. And really, was that so complicated? You're 8-0-2, you've got Liandry's finished. With the way jungle experience works, yes, there is a top tier meta, but if your pathing and your understanding of what they want to do supersedes their ability to basically outstat you, and you understand, you know what, I might have to give up a dragon, I might have to give up my blue side jungle, you're seeing that here, look, they're invading me, I will just leave. And you implement that umbrella level jungling with great ultimate usage, and you basically have that 2-level lead. It's very, very difficult for anyone to actually deal with a scaling jungler who jungles intelligently. The downside obviously is if you are taking 6 camps on the top side from the enemy jungler and they're just diving bot lane over and over again, it's very important that you actually try and secure some sort of objectives. It's very important that you actually get another lane really fed. And carrying those losing lanes is a different ball game, but the principles still translate. I will link a gameplay from the other channel that really delves into how you handle losing lanes and how you carry them, how you scale and make that comeback, especially with a farming jungler like a Fiddlesticks. In fact, I think I did actually use Fiddlesticks. So if you have questions regarding that and closing the game out with this kind of jungler, all are answered in that video because that's an additional discussion. But hopefully the pathing, the understanding of what you need to accomplish in the game is very clear in this video. Good examples from 2 very high elo games. And remember, you're most likely gonna have to give up way more in a high elo game because they understand how to punish you, versus in low elo where you won't really be punished. So if you can do this properly, you're probably going to have a lot of fun and gain a lot of LP now that the system is fixed. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you were able to enjoy and learn something. Please do like, share, and comment if you did. Join me at Planet 9. Don't forget to play around your ultimates. Apply only the best beard oil to your beard because we must keep it healthy and fresh. And as always, I will see you all in the next tutorial.